Speaking through the gray. Speaking through the gray. Speaking through the gray. How did it happen?
What's up, guys? I'm Dan.
And I'm Jasmine.
And welcome back to Speaking Through the Gray. This is episode number 9. I know we've been on a bit of a hiatus after coming back from Africa and all the different things going on. There's been a lot of things going on in work and transitions and seasons, and so we're going to try to get back to trying to do this once a week. So we're excited. We're going to be talking about marriage today.
Yes.
Yes.
And relationships.
Relationships.
Yep. Oh, mm-hmm.
This is unedited, folks. Here we go. But yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that we've just been talking about. I don't know, in our culture today, I feel like, obviously divorce is so prevalent.
Yeah.
Relationships being a hot, steaming mess is, unfortunately pretty common. And when we look at things, not to judge, but understand the root causes of the things that are going on in the world today without some type of structure or principles or morals or anything, no foundation to what you're trying to do. It's like it's like blindfolding yourself trying to throw a dart and hit the target, and you don't know what you're aiming for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I know, like, when we first started dating, it was a lot of questions, like, how is this going to go? That was really my first real relationship. So
Yeah,
that was your
I wish I could say that,
500th.
but I was, yeah. We're not going to get into that chapter on the pod, maybe in a future one. The downfall of Dan. And anyway. But yeah, no. And Jasmine probably could tell right out the gate that this was, I was approaching this very seriously when I first started talking to her, because the first conversations we even had was me grilling her on theology and trying to make sure she had good biblical theology, understanding what her thoughts were on, it's some of the basic stuff, like what is salvation? How do you, how do you have a relationship with Jesus Christ? What does that mean? All the basics. But for us understanding, like, which I feel like we've probably talked about on the pod in the past, but I feel like any relationship, even from a secular standpoint, I feel like people can learn something from this, is that if you're in a relationship with someone, you need to know your purpose.
Yeah.
You need to know your direction, at least, whatever you want to call it from a secular standpoint.
Yeah.
Because if your direction is going here and the other person's is going here, it's pointless to even start a relationship.
Yeah.
Because it's going to end in a point where you go further down the road and then those split off.
Yeah.
But if you're both going in the same direction, that's
Yeah.
important.
Then you know exactly what's supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
I think I've had a lot of friends that don't find out that this guy didn't want to have kids 10, 11 months into a relationship, or he doesn't want to get a house. He actually doesn't want to get married, but I want to get married. I feel like that should be established already at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, these are my intentions. This is where I want to go with the relationship. And then that person be like, nah, I don't want that. And then you already know.
Yeah. You solve a lot of problems and a lot of heartache that way. And it's crazy because also, like, there is a side which, again, from a secular standpoint, people won't agree, but like when people are literally just jumping into bed with one another and like that's right out the gate, that builds the premise of the relationship on something that's not going to be there every second of the day. Like there has to be more substance.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, from a spiritual standpoint, like that is a spiritual connection too. So it puts almost blinders on because you're connecting your souls essentially to somebody who you haven't made that commitment to.
Yeah.
So then it creates a dynamic and all these other things. And, I'm guilty of that. I've had that in the past, and it train wreck every time. But yeah, and you look at that and you see that over and over again. And friends I love dearly, and I'm just like, oh man, again, like this happened to you. Like it's, it's a pattern that people build in their relationships and don't learn from it. Yeah.
Yeah, I see that pattern. I haven't dealt with it. So
yeah, again, Jasmine is the golden standard here. But yeah, it's a lot to learn from. And we're gonna get a little bit further into this in talking about marriage. But again, the concept of marriage and the concept of dating. It's like, if your goal is just to be out there and have fun and not have any commitments, then, you know, whatever, like two people, you agree to that. But like, again, from a Christian standpoint, that's not at all what we should be striving for. And that's not okay.
Yeah. I know, like dating, I wanted to get married and have kids. And I knew that from the beginning, and I wasn't going to be playing around just based on what I learned growing up with my parents, what they taught me in church. So anytime I date it and they're like, no, I don't want to commit, or I don't want to get married, then bye. That's not what I want. So
bye, boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's important that those standards are set up. And so talking about
marriage. Yeah. So I put a post on Facebook, and I wanted to know if anyone could describe marriage in one word and what they thought. We got a lot of different answers, positive answers. Our first one was long, and we were both a little bit confused about it. And then they went back in and said every marriage should be long.
Yes. The comment literally was the word long. I thought you were about to say there's long. A long comment. Yeah.
So, yes, our next comment, we have blessing. We have marriage is wonderful. We have it's adventurous, safe, it's commitment, it's partnership, oneness, home, honorable, commandment, dedication, collaboration, agreement, unity, partnership, honest, love, amazing, dope. Thanks, Alex, because Alex be dope. It is compromise, forever, commitment, and humorous. I like the humorous one.
Yeah.
But we got a lot of nice comments. I was expecting good comments and people not to go off on Facebook. But
yeah.
I wanted some
airing
edgy
out
ones.
their dirty laundry. Yeah. I mean, yeah, no. I mean, because reality, I mean, we always put our best foot forward, and, you know, and it, I think the people are commenting on what marriage should be, you know. But the reality is marriage also, you know, there should be an aspect of struggle. To a degree, you know what I mean?
There definitely
like, I mean, there will be, regardless if you want it or not, honestly. But like, you know, I was just listening to someone the other day. I don't remember where it was. It was on a podcast, I think, somewhere. But basically, like, a marriage that doesn't have fighting in it is like doomed to fail. Like, it's gonna get jacked up, because it's like, otherwise you're just brushing stuff under the rug. You're not addressing stuff. You're not dealing with stuff. You just want to pick the path of least resistance, which leads to resentment, which leads to these unspoken issues, and then you end up just being mad. But like, if you're not willing to fight and not fight. Like, my mom told me a long time ago in one of the relationships I was in, it was a hot mess. Anyway, we were, I'm not going to get into the details, but long story short, I was in a fight with the girl I was with, and my mom was like, it's not about not fighting, it's about fighting well. Yeah. And so, thankfully, that didn't take with that relationship. But it was advice that stuck with me, because I'm like, it's not about not fighting. It's about understanding, you know, how to air it out, say what's on your mind, do what you got to do, and figure out the path forward together.
And it's really in your vows. Like, at the beginning, that preacher is telling you that it's not going to be just good all the time. It's good and bad. And the end for And a lot of that stuff happens, and you have to figure out how to work through it. I remember when we went into marriage counseling, we did one session. I feel like we should have did more. I didn't think about that till now.
We should have, for sure.
Anyway, we're past that now.
Yeah, too late.
But I talked to my dad after, and he was like, okay, like, what did you talk about? Did you talk about your in-laws? Did you talk about these different aspects? I was like, yeah, we talked about it. And like, when you're in love and about to just get married, like, yeah, everything's fine. It's fine. And then when you get into marriage and you reach all these different conflicts, and you're like, oh, we should have talked about that a little bit longer.
Yeah. Everything. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, in marriage, everything's about communication. Yeah. And one of my missionary friends, Jonathan Odicio, I remember one of the things he taught me a long time ago was that, like, marriage is the struggle that comes from it is usually from unrealized expectations. Yeah. Like, he's like, I'll come home from a long day of doing whatever with the people, and then like, my expectation is I'm tired, I want to sit down, I want to play a video game, or I want to do this. And then his wife's expectation is, I've been home with the kids, you're going to sit down, you're supposed to help me clean up or do whatever, and then we can sit down and relax. And it's like, but if you don't speak those things,
Yeah, that's true.
then you're both
do
set.
have
Again, communication is everything, even if
Yeah.
it's the small stuff. Like you have to
You
really
can't
push.
avoid the conflict and the argument because you just have to
Mhm.
kind of just push forward.
Yeah, for real. Um,
I got some like advice from one of your friends, and one summer, and he basically sent like, we're not perfect people. Like you might think you're perfect, but you're really just not. So you have to really think about what you're bringing to the table. Are you messing up too? Because it's probably the both of you.
Who was it, if you don't mind?
I think it was your friend David. Yeah.
Oh, David.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
David's got wisdom every now and then. I love to mess with him, but anyway. Yeah, no, that's so true. I'm trying to find this passage. I just was
About what
looking.
God says about marriage.
Yeah, no, like looking at and understanding. I mean, there's tons of passages, but understanding that that you are basically two people coming together to be one.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I cannot find the reference right now, but it's basically like, that you are leaving your mother and father, and you are to be joined together as one with your wife, and that you leave that past behind. And it's like important because, a lot of times too, in every relationship, especially when you have two sets of parents involved on both sides, they're going to have their opinions, and you're still their kid. And I think it's important that you both have a healthy boundary of understanding, like, hey, here's the line.
Yeah.
Here's where we're going to say, like, yeah, well, take in the advice, take it with a grain of salt, but like, how do you balance that out and still have a respectful relationship with your in-laws and
Yeah.
everything? And
All in communication. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
You gotta be kind to people too.
Yep. Yeah, seriously.
Every marriage and their relationship with their in-laws are different. I've seen some absolute train wrecks that almost can't be fixed, and I've seen really good ones like ours. And so that is a really delicate situation, trying to balance that out, in-laws and friendships and all that fun stuff.
Yep.
So our society and marriage. I'm not talking. I'm not.
We're leaving it in.
Yeah, well,
it's all good.
Society and marriage. What are we thinking about that? I feel like every time I go on social media, it's always like, for me, I always get like, hey, girl power, you work, you don't need a man and all that. Did you find your scripture?
Yeah.
Do you want to say it real
the
quick?
part that I was looking for was more towards the middle of the verse, but basically it says, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let no man separate, which you always hear in, in weddings, that portion of it, which is, super important to look at that. But like you were saying, society and marriage today, yeah, it's tough because it's like not coming at it from a judgmental standpoint. I mean, honestly, like, hey, everybody's got their stuff, everybody's got their struggles, they got their past, but at the same time, we're in such a weird point in society where no one wants to talk about the problems because they call it out as being judgmental and everything. But it's like, if you don't diagnose the issue, then there's no resolution towards a better path forward.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I think part of me would say in the past, people would enter into marriage maybe too lightly and not really think about it.
It's true.
But when you look at the statistics now, I don't have the raw data, and I could be making this up, so don't fact check me. But reality is, I mean, I know from different things I've read, is that like people are much less likely to get married now in today's society, because there's a generation that came up with seeing 50+% divorce rates, and they're like, well, why even give it a shot? It seems pointless, or it's just a piece of paper, or it's just whatever. But yeah, I think marriage has been so dramatically devalued in our society. And it's not even like, this isn't a like, because of woke ideology or because of this and that. It's like, no, it's like us in the church are just as much to blame. I mean, we're part of that 50 percentile that is still in divorce, Yeah. So it's like, how can we expect other people to take it seriously?
Yeah.
but yeah, and that's tough because then it's just like from that you see, you know, a lot more relationships where the father's not in the home
Yeah.
or there's just a dramatic imbalance between, you know, two parents in the household, the nuclear family's falling apart. And I think that leads to the decay and collapse of society. I mean, you've heard multiple people. I think the first time I ever heard it, I believe it was actually Obama. The first time I heard it was him talking about, you know, fathers not being in the home leads to higher incarceration rates, higher illiteracy, higher levels of, you know, high school dropouts, all that stuff. And it's just like, you know, obviously this is a podcast on marriage, but the realities of how important marriage is and a stable relationship, especially when kids are involved, it's not just about you. And that's the thing marriage is it's a self, it's to take you from being selfish and thinking about just yourself into being selfless and thinking about somebody else. And especially when you have a family, to be thinking about a group of people that are under your care,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. It's hard, like not, especially jumping into marriage. It's like all about you. And now it's all of us together. Marriage is actually a lot of hard work, and I didn't realize it was going to be so much hard work.
Yeah. I don't know. I just kind of figured it would be. No, I'm just kidding.
I did not.
Yeah.
And I think adding kids on top of that is like, this is even harder work.
Yeah, they're little psychopaths, bro. They're crazy.
But taking care of them and also taking care of our marriage and dealing with our, you know, any family things, dealing with church stuff, it's... And then we still have to prioritize us, like going out on dates. I feel like the other day I was like, when was the last time we went out? Just you and me, like together, and just worked on our marriage.
Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah, it's tough, and you have to make priorities. You have to put it on the schedule. And I know some married couples, they'll have like a standard, you know, like, okay, once a month we have to, you know, go on a date, or, you know, twice a month we have to do X, Y, and Z, like different things for like being intentional. And like every relationship, you have to be intentional. Like I have, you know, friends that, you know, I feel like with guys, it's different. You could just like pick up where you left off if you don't talk for like a month or two. But like generally, like, you know, some of my best friends, especially in like the Harrisburg area, like, you know, I got to reach out every now and then, see how everybody's doing, catch up. But if you don't foster a relationship or cultivate a relationship, it's, you know, it's not going to grow. And it's not going to go anywhere. Yeah. So
finances.
Ooh, my specialty.
That is your specialty. So just go ahead and talk. I'll be over here.
So Jasmine, explain to me how our budget works. I'm just kidding.
I can't spend money. That's how the budget works.
That is not true.
We have money. I can't spend
blink
it.
twice if you're being held against your will.
I am. Oh, I'm just supposed to blink again.
But yeah, no, finances is interesting because my parents grew up, and they're not going to, you know, care that I say this, but my parents grew up, or growing up, my parents were kind of on the hot mess express when it came to finances, and just really did not understand proper financial literacy, didn't understand, you know, putting stuff away, not getting into debt, you know, putting everything on credit cards. And they created a pile of, you know, debt that they had to work through. And right before, around the time we were getting married, is when they were just finishing up paying off my dad's student loans. And it was like, holy cow, man. Yeah. So, right when we got married in the first month, my mom was like, you have to do this. And I was like, okay, I'll do it, you know? So we had, it was called Envelopes at the time. It was like an online program, and I had a financial counselor. And so I worked with this person and just really caught on to it. I like kind of a nerd when it comes to numbers. Like I'm more like practical math. But understanding, and then, you know, paying off the loan that we got right before we got married for me to get a certification through a leadership organization, paying off the car, paying off my student loans. Hers are a lot larger, so
call me out like that.
But she actually has a degree. I dropped out of college, so mine was stupid debt, literally stupid debt. But you know, and you know, we still got a ways to go. We still got one more car to pay off. You know, still got.
Dave Ramsey controls our house.
Yes, basically. You know,
I had to tell him we needed boundaries with Dave.
Yeah, Dave, if you're watching, I'm sorry. No, I mean, and I've gone through like half the way with the financial coach training through Ramsey, and I don't know, I think it was the year 2020, and I was just working in the wood shop a lot, and I was listening to him, and it was just like, wow, like people don't understand, like, and this will tie back in, I promise. I get really nerded out when it comes to finances. It will tie
Help us
in.
all.
But like, if you ever listen to the Dave Ramsey show, like so many people call in, and a lot of things that go on in marriage comes down to finances. Like
Yeah.
people are like, I didn't know he had a whole separate credit card and he was racking it up, or vice versa, the wife,
Yeah.
husband, you know. And they don't communicate on their finances.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, it's like, well, the budget's not balanced. And it's like, well, we literally create a zero-based budget, which most people don't even know what that is, unfortunately. But basically, we look at our spreadsheet, our budget. I've just like old school, just to use, you know, it's technology, so it's not old school for some, it's new school for some. But I created a spreadsheet, and I even have this for my parents as well, where it's like, this is the amount we're bringing in every month. We allocate every single dollar to an assignment, so that way everything is accounted for. And that's money to pay the groceries, the bills, and then extra money to put towards debt, money that we can reallocate if something, an emergency pops up. We have a $1,000 emergency fund that we pretty much never touch, because we have money moving around in that budget to create space for those things.
Yeah.
And we do that every month. And we have to, you know, Jasmine was like, hey, can we eat out today? And it's not like she's asking for my permission. It's just like, hey, what's on the budget? Like, do we have this? And then
It
it's
feels like I'm asking for permission sometimes.
yeah.
But I don't want to live in a box.
Yeah.
We have 2 kids.
Yeah.
And so I understand the importance of it. I'm not a huge fan of
Yeah.
budgeting.
Now, do you see the bigger picture?
I do
as
see the
far
bigger picture
of like where we're going and why we're
Yes,
doing
yeah.
it. Yeah.
You know, I see, because sometimes like I go outside, this might be a sidebar, and I see like retired people working in their yards and stuff like that. And I'm like, I can't wait to get to that point where I'm like, we have enough money. We're just retired people working in our yards, and we have a clean house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Was that a weird sidebar?
No. I mean, you know, I guess it's part of the goal. I mean, you know, because we have to pay off, you know, a part of our plan is paying off our debt to be able to then invest for retirement. Because again, it's our goal that we're setting towards together for, like, you know, being able to think about, okay, in X amount of years, we'll be out of debt here. We can start investing in our retirement, start putting money aside for the kids for whatever, like, you know, college fund or whatever that may be.
Marriage is hard.
Yeah, it's a lot. But again, all of this ties back into the fact that if you're not communicating, and finances are like one of the number one reasons people get into divorce and they end their marriages is, you know, their communication. And again, I think finances and communication, those two topics go straight together, because if you don't know what you're doing and you're not on the same page, you'll never be able to make that.
That can go right into different conflicts that marriages have. And fighting definitely happms. I guess what you said, a good marriage, right?
Yeah. Our
Involves
marriage is
fighting.
very good then. You know, so
What? Just rude.
we don't fight that much.
But there are several factors that involve, what am I going with this? Conflict in marriage. So I don't know, give me some ideas. There's in-laws, there's raising children, there's conflict.
Not doing the dishes when you come home from work. Are they all my conflicts? Are we talking about?
I'm talking about conflict in marriage in general.
Yeah. Again, I mean, it's kind of reiterating and repetitive to a degree, but like, you know, again, communication, expectations, communication. But you know, a lot of it just comes down to what you expect the other person to do. Yeah. And that expectation without communication leads to conflict. Which is
sometimes as women, we like, this is a hard thing for me, because it's like, you don't see those dishes in the sink. Like,
yeah, no. But I get home after a, you know, 10-hour day, I'm just like, the blinders do go on.
Toys
yes,
on the floor.
yes. Which, and I don't always respond appropriately.
You don't see that garbage piling up in the corner.
Just like, someone's gonna come in here at night and take care of
you
this.
Don't see
worry.
the laundry piling up.
We're not paying someone to do this at this point. Like, oh my gosh.
But all in communication, because yeah.
But and you're such a talker that, you know, you love communicating. You love communicating.
This podcast has took a turn.
No. In all seriousness, no. I hear where you're coming from, and we're talking about which some marriages would would be grateful for this type of, our conflicts.
Yeah.
Not to compare or judge, but like, again, like, we're looking at the small stuff, the day-to-day things, but like conflicts as far as like, setting boundaries in other relationships, not just families, but like, like you look at like infidelity with people like that are like cheating, and sometimes cheating is not just a physical thing, but it can be an emotional thing, and setting those boundaries to know, hey, I'm not going to let it cross this point. I'm, somebody messages me and says, hey, like, can we talk? I'm like, ooh, maybe not, that might not be
You're
appropriate.
Trying to say something? Or?
No,
People also deal with addictions.
Yeah, addictions. I was about to like crack a joke, and then you were like addictions, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, it got dark. It got dark."
But you're right. I think we are doing decent in our marriage, and I don't think about sometimes like the really dark things, like cheating and addictions, and the really dark stuff that people go through, all types of stuff in their marriage.
Yep. Yeah. Is now a good time to tell you that I bought another gun without telling you?
I hope not. I hope
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I didn't.
This is not the time.
Yeah. No. Thankfully, I have not. But I'll be honest. The last gun that I did buy,
it was a lot of money, and I'm still.
Yeah, she's fine. She's working through it. But she was like, "How much did you spend on that?" I'm like, "Originally with all the modifications," and she's like, "I don't want to know now. Never mind." But anyway,
divorce.
Yeah. No, wait. Wait. Weird transition.
I feel like there's a lot of couples around us that are like dropping like flies. Yeah. Is it me, or is it like, am I making things up?
No, I mean, and it's crazy because sometimes it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, and you can't, from outside looking in, you can't make full sense of anything. And there's two sides to every story, yada yada, all the cliches. But it's tough. I mean, it's such a tough topic because it's not what God wants. But like outside of the fact of like, is there infidelity? Is there abuse? Is there, things that are not being resolved, that are not being addressed, that would lead to, hey, this is justifiable. You gotta split. But just some people that just kind of give up on stuff. Like, and again, not judging, because like it's tough. Marriage is absolutely difficult. It's not meant to be easy. But I mean, there is situations where, even in the midst of that, you do see people that at least find civility to like co-parent and, still be kind to one another. And I've seen that, like, where like the ex-husband will come over and mow the lawn still, or help out with whatever, like, and I think that if it gets to that point, especially if there's kids involved, like finding the most civil path forward where you're not, trash talking your ex and all that. But like, again, it's a shame because we've already kind of talked about it a ton, so I don't want to beat a dead horse here.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah,
I was looking up some statistics on.
You got it that time.
I'm trying to get it together. On marriages. Thank you. So like first marriage, divorce, and it says only. This is from Forbes.com. It says only 43% of which are dissolved. I still think that's
a weird way of
high. I know they're trying to like
relationships are
it's
dissolved.
Not that bad.
Oh.
And then it's because second and third marriages actually fail at a far higher rate.
Oh yeah.
Though with 60% of second marriages and 73% of third marriages ending in divorce.
That's three.
So
that's 73%. That's crazy. And it was like, at that point, it's like, who's the common denominator here?
It's you.
It's you.
I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah. I mean, not every time, but I'd say, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's pretty high. I'd say it's probably 73% of the, anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a stupid joke, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So, marriage is tough.
Is tough.
So yeah, so thank you for joining us.
But get married. I don't know.
Get me.
We try to end on a positive note, though.
Yeah,
we ended on divorce. We can't end on divorce.
For every marriage this year, you'll get a free gift card to the Outback Steakhouse. No, okay, we can't afford that. That's too many. But yeah, no, it's definitely important that we have these conversations and understand that, again, it's not easy, and it's not meant to be easy. Anyone who throws you that fairy tale. If you go into it with that perspective, you're setting yourself up for failure. But
I really thought when we got married, it would be like happily ever after, like Snow White, and just right off to the sunset.
Yeah.
We rode off into our tiny little apartment, went back to our $13 an hour job.
Oh yeah,
had
that was
a child.
a bad season.
So
That was terrible. I was working at an insurance company, and I had no soul. It was terrible. I was dying inside.
It's not always sunshine and rainbows. Like there's a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Words are tough today.
Words are really tough.
Oh, it's all good. We're tired. We're very tired. So that's the only. I'm not laughing at her. I'm laughing with her. Hopefully. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. So we'll put a bow on this then, and we're gonna try to do this at least once a week. We're just doing one camera right now. We're trying to keep it a little bit more simple so we can try to keep doing this. But if there's any topics that you guys want to hear about, any investigative journalism that we can do to really bring light to an interesting topic, we've got a couple coming down the pipeline, some interviews, some different people we want to chat with and have some interesting conversations with. But we're just going to try to do this like at least once a week, even if it's only 20, 30 minutes. But yeah, so thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
For Speaking Through the Gray, episode number 9. Y'all have a great day. God bless.
Speaking through the gray.